Hi, I'm Danyelle Campbell. I'm a professional barrel horse trainer, and like any successful operation, there's a few key elements that I feel are important to what makes my program work. First thing with all our horses, feet first. We believe in a good farrier, a great veterinarian, and most importantly, we've got to have great fitting equipment that works day in and day out. I've been a best ever pad user for about 15 years now, and with over 30 horses in training right now, it goes on every horse every single day. And my preference is the 3/4 inch cush pad. The reason I like the 3/4 inch is I like a close fitting saddle. I find if I get a pad that's much thicker, my saddle starts to roll. So saddle fit's very important also, but a great saddle doesn't mean much without a great pad to go along with it. The cush pad is 100% pressed wool pad, and it actually feels softer to touch for the horse than other felt pads, but it also takes the impact and pressure better because it is a press pad, and that's why I like it. It holds its shape a lot better. Like this pad, for example, this is 4 years old, and I use this pad every single day. I just think an amazing felt pad that holds its form is the best thing that you can possibly use. It's been around for years and years, and Best Ever has nailed to truly become the best ever. But I do have a tree sitting here, and I want to just show you something that's important for me that I think everyone needs to look at. This is actually my tree from Lewis Saddle Tree, and I'm going to set it on this horse's back. Now, I don't have a bad example to show you, but I think if you test this out on your own horses, and you can test it with your saddle, with or without a pad. Don't cinch your horse up and see what happens, and then cinch your horse up and see what happens to the back of your saddle. But a friend told me one time, if there's no rock, there won't be any roll. And I know that sounds like something straight out of the 70s, but it actually applies to saddles as well. So what they mean by that is I'm going to set this saddle right here, or this tree right here, and you can see I've got some flare in the shoulders. I don't believe in a wide tree. Of all the horses I have in training, all shapes and sizes, the absolute widest gullet width I have is 6 7/8, and that's what this is. I do not believe for my event in barrel racing that I need a tree with a gullet width any wider. However, I do want there to be flare throughout the bars, and actually my bar pattern is a little narrower, so it sits more on my horse's back like a teepee. I don't want it wide and flat. I want it to put pressure even along the horse's back. So I'm going to sit this up here. That's where it would be if I were to get ready to make a run on this horse. But what we mean by if there's no rock, there won't be any roll, is if I put a decent amount of pressure on this horn, you can see the back barely raises up. And I mean, I'm putting a fair amount of pressure, and I'm a strong person, so there's a lot of muscle here to go along with this. So a lot of saddles, it's shocking how many. If you just set the saddle on here, the back will stick up. And if you put this much pressure on the horn, the entire back will flip up. I mean, like, you have to have a rear cinch, which I use one anyways, but you have to. And it feels like, I mean, there's nothing worse than feeling like you're going downhill. So again, if you have no rock going up and down, there's less likelihood of your saddle actually rolling from side to side. And that's how I want a saddle to fit a horse. And again, there's a lot of great saddle makers that have this down, but make sure you find one of those. So now I'm going to put the pad on with the saddle that has this exact same tree in it and show you guys how I want my saddle to fit when I'm running. The first thing I do, I just set my pad exactly where I want it, and I always raise it up in the withers. I don't know if it's a must, but I want my pad up in the front. Same thing, the minute I throw my saddle on, I'm just going to raise the front, and for me, that's good. I don't need to do anything else. I have my saddle sitting where it wants. My front D's, my rigging D's, they're right at 3 1/4 inches back. And that's another thing. If you get these front D's too far back, it changes everything about how your saddle fits a horse. This is exactly where I want mine to be. Here's my saddle, not cinched up, with my best ever pad on Scoop's back. And this is what I wanted to show you. Again, elaborating on the, if there's no rock, there won't be any roll. This is what's important to me in a saddle fit with your pad on your horse's back. Very true fit. This is like you going and trying on a new pair of boots and making sure you've got the right socks on, walk around, make sure everything feels good. I can push down on this horn as hard as I can. Again, I'm strong with both hands, and you can see the back is barely rising at all. That is what is going to give me the contact I need. It means I have even distribution throughout my horse's back. The pad's helping, the saddle's helping. Whatever saddle you decide to use, I do recommend a best ever pad, but whatever saddle you decide to use, make sure that it truly fits your horse's back. That's going to help make everything better and safer. Always do the front cinch first. Always undo the front cinch last. That way you never know. Even a nice, quiet, old seasoned horse, anything can happen. They can get scared, they can get loose. So I always make sure that the front cinch is the first thing I do. And you can see when I cinch him up, right here, I mean, the cinch is right behind his shoulder. This is where I want my saddle to stay all the time. And if it slides back in the warm-up process, I'm going to get off before I run. Some people believe the saddle, when it slides back, that's where it should be on the horse. I don't believe that. I'm not saying they're wrong. We all have our beliefs. This is where I want my saddle when I make a run. And on 99% of the horses I ride, this is where it stays. Very rarely do I have a horse that my saddle will slide back on. And generally that's just if they have an abnormally high wither and there's just really, no matter how you saddle or pad them up, it's not going to change anything. The width isn't going to change. It's just the way their back's built. Not every horse's back is built to truly carry a saddle and us. And then my rear cinch, and then the breast collar, and I always use a breast collar. Another huge pet peeve of mine is seeing people run barrels or do any Western sport event. I say that, I mean, reiners and cutters don't need to use it, it's different. But I mean, if you're in a high-speed event or you're roping or you're barrel racing, you need to have a breast collar. I've seen more enormous wrecks happen simply because a saddle slid backwards in the middle of a run that somebody could have prevented by simply, you don't have to have an expensive one. I mean, they sell these things for $30. It's a safety precaution. So I always use a breast collar. Huge pet peeve. Rear cinch, optional. I'm from out west. We grew up using rear cinches, so it's just part of what I do. But I don't really think that's a safety precaution in our event. So this is exactly what I want when I run. This is my competition gear, my get up. The only pad that I'll use. The other great thing about Best Ever pads is the staff there, the owners, they're absolutely amazing. They're horsemen themselves. They compete. They understand what we need. They're there to answer any questions. Ryan and Tammy White, Gabby works in the office, and all of them are so easy to work with and creative. You can personalize your pads to anything. They actually matched this pad for me with this beadwork for a headstall and breast collar that I had made for this horse. This is Scoop's gear right here. He likes blue, but I think great customer service and people who actually understand what we need out of our horses and are relying on their horses to make a living as well. So they understand the importance of having a sound back, that's important also. And I'll add also, I don't often use an equine chiropractor, but when I do, I feel like I have one of the best ones in the world that I go to. And every single time I've ever taken my horses there, it's not that they've never had like a soreness here or there, but he says he's never seen any of my horses sore due to improper saddle or pad fitting. And I think that says a lot right there. And again, in case you missed it the first time, I'm Danyelle Campbell. I do my best every day to be a professional barrel horse trainer, and I appreciate you guys listening.